Yes.
So now we are ready.
Yes, sir. Ready.
Yes, sir. So now coming to the basics of the
You
anatomy.
can see, sir.
So when we look into the shoulder joint, uh, the shoulder joint is made up of different layers of structures. So the first layer is the labrum. So if we talk about the ball and socket joint, the innermost layer is the labrum, and this is the structure which gives the stability to the joint. And outside that is the capsule. Outside the capsule, there will be rotator cuff muscles, and outside the rotator cuff muscles, there will be other structures or other extra shoulder muscles. So this is how it looks like. So if you see the right-sided picture, this is the coracoid. Can you see my arrow?
Yes, sir. We
So
can.
this is the coracoid. This is the acromion, and this structure which is connecting is the coracoacromial ligament. And this structure,
Yes.
this is the most important muscle. This is called as a supraspinatus muscle, and this is the most important muscle of the shoulder, and this is the most common muscle which is injured. So rotator cuff uh, tears, supraspinatus tears are very common, and they are due to injury to this muscle, and it is usually torn from the head of the humerus. Now there are several causes which can cause shoulder pain. So impingement syndrome, rotator cuff tear, supraspinatus tendinitis or tear, labral tear, biceps tendinitis, calcific tendinitis, and slap tear. So lots of problems which can give rise to pain in the shoulder. Now this is very important concept. This is called as the impingement syndrome. So in impingement syndrome, you have a hooked acromion, and this hooked acromion will have a impinging effect on the rotator cuff beneath it, and this causes a lot of problems in some patients. So type 3 acromion is linked to more incidence of rotator cuff tendon problems and tear. So any questions so far? If any of the student has any questions, we can discuss.
So you can students put your questions in chat box also. If you're not unmuted, आप अपने question chat box में भी डाल सकते हैं. Sir can answer. किसी को
Sure.
कोई question हो तो आप chat box में डाल दीजिए.
Sure. So now
Yeah.
we can, the approach is very important. So for a physiotherapist, I will see that one of the most common problem that you will face in your clinical practice will be shoulder. So if you see your clinical practice, when you will go into the actual world of practice, the most common patients you will see will be the back pain. The second most common you will see will be the knee pain, and the third most common patient that you will see is a frozen shoulder or a pain in the shoulder. So the approach is very important. So the most important thing you need to do is to assess the cause. So don't label all the shoulder pain as a frozen shoulder. Uh, See what is the problem, see what is the cause of the problem, assess the severity, and don't feel shy. Now, as a physiotherapist, I think you must be well versed with the investigations that are needed. And if needed, you can get an X-ray or an MRI done, and you can advise X-ray and MRI as and when needed. Now, conservative measure means is physiotherapy. And here I would like to state that physiotherapy is the mainstay in the treatment of majority of shoulder disorders. So as a surgeon, we usually say that we should not intervene unless the physiotherapist has given up. So most of our patients, I will try a conservative treatment physiotherapy first. And if it is not successful, we will go for the operative or therapeutic procedures. So, but the important thing is your physiotherapy is not same in all the patients. So it's a guided physiotherapy. So the physiotherapy should be different for different patients. And those patients who are not responding with physiotherapy can be treated with, uh, those patients who are not responsive with physiotherapy can be treated with arthroscopic surgeries. Now, non-operative treatment, you must be aware. You can use ice application, rest, painkillers. You can advise SOS. Very important thing, you must check blood sugar and thyroid levels. So diabetes and thyroid problems are very commonly associated with shoulder problems. So always, all of your patients, you must rule out if they have any thyroid issues or they have any other uh, diabetes or something like that. So Now steroid injections were earlier recommended for shoulder joint. Now I don't recommend them as a routine. So we have very selected patients in which we should give a steroid injection. Now, as I told you, physiotherapy is the integral part of treatment. It is very important. But the important thing is physiotherapy for all the patient is not same. And physiotherapy should be individualized. Now, here I would like to request all of you that we have a small YouTube channel, which is Advanced Hospitals. So we have some videos which are dedicated for physiotherapists teaching. So all of you can go onto the YouTube, go onto the Advanced Hospitals channel, and subscribe to this channel. And there are number of videos which will be very relevant to your education and your practice. Now, as I told you, the physiotherapy must be individualized, and sequence of exercise is very important. You start with stretching, and then you go on for the strengthening program. Now, these are the exercises that you need to do. These are the strengthening exercises. You must be aware of all these exercises. Now, I'll just be focused on the therapeutic part. This is how we do a shoulder arthroscopy. So it's a keyhole surgery. So we make small holes and insert our instruments through that small holes. So when will a patient need a arthroscopy? So if the patient has a persistent pain in the shoulder, weakness in the shoulder, as I told you, if it is not responding to the conservative measurements, if the shoulder is very stiff and frozen, the shoulder is unstable, and if he has pain in throwing, in all these conditions, you may need a shoulder arthroscopy. So this is how the shoulder joint will look from inside. This is a procedure of subacromial decompression that we are doing intra-articularly. Now, rotator cuff, if the patient has a partial tear, treatment is physiotherapy. If the diagnosis is a full thickness tear, the treatment is a arthroscopic surgery. So just a small video for you. So this is a patient. He is a professional cricketer. He injured while bowling. So his case, what happens is we have an injury. So he has an injury, and this the articular side is inside. So this is the inside of the shoulder. This looks normal. And what we will do is we will now go on the upper side. So this is all normal. So this is the biceps tendon I was talking about. This is the long head of the biceps, which is normal in this particular patient. This is the labrum tissue, which is normal. Now this is the upper portion. Now this is the tendon which is torn. So this is the subacromial view. And what we will do is we insert special anchors. So we insert special anchors here. And when we insert special anchors, so when we insert special anchors, so these are the inserter for inserting the anchor. So these are special anchors which dissolve on themselves. So this is a dissolvable anchor. So these are the inserters we put, and after that we will put a anchor here. So this is the special anchor. Now what is anchor? Anchor is basically a device which fits into the bone, and from there the threads will emerge out. And these threads can be used to repair the tissue. So this is the rotator cuff repair surgery being done. And now what we will do is we will pass the sutures one by one. So here we are passing the sutures. So these are special instruments for arthroscopic repair. And we are passing the sutures one by one. So we are passing the sutures one by one sequentially. And we take. So this is the first suture. Likewise, we'll do second pass, third pass, fourth pass. So number of sutures we can pass, and in the end, what we will do is we'll tie back all the sutures. So the structure which is avulsed from the humerus will be tied back onto the humerus. So this is a magnified view. So if you see, this is around 20 to 25 times magnification. So actually it is a 20 to 25 times smaller view. This is all inside we are seeing into the shoulder joint. So this is how we pass all the sutures, and then we will tie the knot. And we tie the knot by a special technique which is called as arthroscopic knot tying. So nothing to be opened, everything can be done with a arthroscopic approach. So we can just tie these knots back into their place. So we can just tie the knots back into its own place. Okay. So this is how this specific surgery is done. So these are all intraoperative pictures. Now there is another subscapular tendon, is another picture. I'll just skip it. But this is how the anchors will look like. So if you are using a metal anchor, so this is how these anchors will look like. So here in this particular case, we are using 3 anchors. In this case, another important interesting procedure. This is called as a Mumford's procedure. So we are removing the distal end of the clavicle. Okay, so what it does is basically you remove the distal end of the clavicle. So this is a subacromial decompression. So we are doing a resection of the acromion, and then we will remove the distal end of the clavicle also to make it smooth and fine. And this is the treatment of acromioclavicular arthritis. So if you have acromioclavicular arthritis, this is the only arthritis in the body in which the joint can be excised. So you can remove the distal part of the clavicle, the problem will be gone. Okay. Now these are some of our patients which are very happy. Okay. Now the other problem you must know is recurrent dislocation of shoulder. So this is a very common problem, specifically in athletes, sports person. And here the shoulder dislocates from its own position. So the shoulder comes out. And this problem you must be seeing very commonly in your age group or sports person or active persons. And this can also be addressed very nicely with a arthroscopic surgery. Okay, so this is also a very, so this is all the technique which we follow. I'll just show another video. Just see this video. This is for a, you can see here that this ball is out of the socket. This is the socket and this is the ball, and the ball is outside the socket. So what we will do is we will repair the tissue of the labrum and we will stabilize the socket. So the shoulder will become stable and it will not dislocate. So we will again, like the same last one, we will pass special sutures. These are special instruments which we will pass. So this is more of a craftsmanship actually. And we will just take one suture at a time and load it, reload it, and then we can tie it back. Okay. Okay, and in the end, we will just tie up all the sutures. So these sutures are passed like this, and then we will tie the structure back. So it will be a repair of the tissue inside. So this is a 6 o'clock, and once we tie all these suture, the shoulder will be centralized onto the ball and the socket joint. Okay. So this is the pre-op picture. You can see that the ball is outside the socket, and this is the post-op picture in which the ball is inside the socket. So this is one of our operated patient. So you can see that he is a bodybuilder, and he is 6 months following the surgery, and he has worked a lot for his shoulder. So he can do actually the reverse push-ups. So you can see a very good strength can be achieved in these patients. Okay, so they can actually attempt a full thing. So the good thing about arthroscopy is a small incisions, minimal pain, and many things which were not been addressed previously can now be addressed nicely. Very good visualization is there. There is no blood loss. It is a daycare procedure. Patients come home in the morning, can be sent the next day. Very less hospital stay, a very fast rehabilitation, and fast return to work basically. Now besides these shoulder problems, we are also using this arthroscopy in painful knee syndromes, meniscus injuries, ligament injuries, ankle injuries, ankle sprain, hip pain. Now this is very interesting. You must have heard about knee replacement, but this is the shoulder replacement that we do. So some patients which are very bad arthritis of the shoulder, we can do a shoulder replacement. Okay. So I think I'm done. Any questions? I'll be more
Yes, sir.
interested in answering. So if any questions,
Okay, sir.
anything related to this talk, or
Students, if you have any question, you can ask through the messenger, or you can put your question in the
you can
message
be like,
box.
or you can press the space bar and then ask it. That is also.
Yes, yes. So I have a question many times. Patients usually asked, can in third grade ACL injury, patient
Yes.
can be treated without surgery?
Yeah, that's a
This is
very,
most
very,
common question.
very good question. And actually, if you see, I was discussing about my YouTube channel, and I have made a video on that. So there is a phenomenon called as an ACL Coper, COPER,
Okay, sir.
Coper. So Coper is basically a patient who can cope up with his ACL injury. So normally, normally the Copers are grade 1 and grade 2. Very occasionally a grade 3 patient will be a Coper. So practically speaking, in our circumstances, grade 1, grade 2 conservative in physiotherapy, and grade 3 will need a surgical intervention. Theoretically speaking, yes, a grade 3 patient, if he does an exercise very nicely, he can be a Coper. But I like all
Yes,
of you to see that video. That is a very interesting video.
sure,
So
sir.
you can go on YouTube, Advanced Hospitals YouTube channel, and then you can search
Okay,
about ACL Coper, and you will get all the.
sure.
There are some criterias but about how when you can call a patient a Coper. So he has to do 4 things. So he has to
Okay.
do a single leg hop, and it should be same on both the sides. So on the injured leg as well as non-injured leg, you have to compare. And if you are able to do a single leg hop on a non-injured leg as good as a injured leg, then you are
Injured
fine to
leg, yes.
do without a surgery. So
Yes.
it's a ACL Coper phenomenon, which is called.
Okay, sir. Anyone is having any questions, sir? I'm not able to see any question right now, so we will make it over to Dr. Shailendra Mehta, sir. Right, sir?
Thanks, Dr. Prathamesh. Sir is
Yes, sir.
among the one of the top orthoscopic surgeon in our country. He's
Yes,
always
sir.
ready to participate in all the type of academic activities.
Yes.
Thanks a lot, Dr. Prathamesh, for sharing
you,
your
sir.
valuable knowledge with us.
Thank you, sir.
And sir is always helping us also to participate in all the type of academic activity, either seminars, CMEs, conference. So he is very active person in our country for orthoscopic surgery. Also very well known orthoscopic surgeon for the shoulder joint. So thanks a lot, Dr. Prathamesh and Dr. Baldev Sharma also. And good afternoon to all the participants. Now I will share little bit things. Sir has already told regarding the orthoscopy advantage and disadvantage why the patient has to go for the orthoscopic surgery and all these things. I will just add little bit things regarding the rotator cuff. What is the rotator cuff? What are the mode of mechanism of rotator cuff injury? How you will diagnose the rotator cuff injury? What are the differential diagnosis? What are the PT management for rotator cuff injury? Okay, just a minute, I will share my screen. Ma'am, please allow me to share screen. Baldev.
Prathamesh, sir, you have to transfer the host to Dr. Shailendra, sir. Right now, you are hostess, sir.
Where it is there?
So when you will long press Dr. Shailendra screen पे आप long press करेंगे तो उसमें option आएगा long
Okay,
press
make
करने
host.
पे.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yes, we have done it.
Shailendra, sir, please check.
Yes. No, I can just. Okay, so we'll
Yes, sir.
discuss a little bit regarding the rotator cuff. As you all know about the rotator cuff and rotator cuff injuries. So initially discovered in 1834 by Smith only. So somewhere it's called as the Smith injury also. It is among most common cause of shoulder pain in instability in lot of athletes, sports person and normal persons also. Disease severity range from inflammation, edema to the irreparable traumas and ruptures. Incidence is around more in after the age of 40 years. It's 40% in all the type of shoulder injury. Just see the incidence also 40% among all the type of shoulder injury. It's very common problem in sports medicine. Unique anatomy and range of motion also contribute a little bit to rise the incidence of the shoulder injury. True understanding of anatomy and biomechanics is important to helpful. Bony, soft tissue and nerve injury is also sometimes associated with all the type of shoulder injuries, and acute or chronic pain is also one of the most common symptoms regarding all the type of shoulder injury, and especially in the rotator cuff injury. Just see here, unique anatomy of the shoulder joint. You all know about the humerus, scapula, glenoid cavity, acromion and coracoid process of the scapula, scapular body, clavicle and sternum. All these structures just made the little bit complex shoulder joint anatomy and physiology. That's why it's a very common injury. And made of, generally the rotator cuff is made up of 4 muscles only: supraspinatus, infraspinatus, teres minor, and subscapular. Sometimes the long head of the biceps also incorporated in the rotator cuff because it's the functional. The another short head is not the functional head. So generally the long head of biceps also included in the rotator cuff because it's having little bit contribution in function of the shoulder joint. So it's also considered sometimes. Just see one by one all the muscles. Subscapular, you know the origin of subscapular fossa of the scapula. Insertion is always lesser tuberosity of tuberosity of the humerus. The action is the interrotation adduction. Nerve supply also, you know the subscapular nerve. Artery also supplying the subscapular muscle. Then posterior chest wall muscle is the supraspinatus, main muscle. Supraspinatus fossa of the scapula is the origin. Insertion is always greater tuberosity of the humerus. The main function is the abduction of the arm. Then nerve supply also root value C4 to C6 and suprascapular nerve. Next muscle is the infraspinatus muscle of the posterior chest wall. You know the origin infraspinatus fossa of the scapula. Again, the insertion is the same, greater tuberosity of the humerus. The function is the externally rotates the arm or external rotation of the arm. Nerve supply again suprascapular nerve, root value C5, C6 here again. Then teres minor is the last muscle of the rotator cuff. Origin is the superior part of the lateral border of the scapula. Insertion again greater tuberosity of the humerus. The function is the external rotation of the arm. Nerve supply again axillary nerve. You know deltoid, axillary nerve supplying the deltoid and teres minor muscle. Remember this thing. Again root value is C5 and C6. Then functions of the rotator cuff, it's the most dynamic stabilizer of the shoulder joint. Stabilizer of the shoulder mainly anterior and posterior part of the shoulder joint. Provide fixed fulcrum for concentric rotation of the humerus head during the movement. Just remember this thing. So it's just having important part in stabilization of the shoulder joint. Initiation of the abduction is always being by the supraspinatus muscle only, laterally followed by the deltoid muscle. Remember this thing also. Rotation of the shoulder is initially also being by the muscles of the rotator cuff only. So these are the very important muscle for movements of shoulder joint. What are the common pathological conditions of shoulder joint? Again, impingement symptoms are there. Tendonitis is there, tendinosis is there, bursitis, sometimes tendon entrapment syndromes also are there. Calcification is also sometimes main problem for the shoulder joint. Then rotator cuff tears. Just Prathamesh sir told about the types of rotator cuff injuries. Just here again, some of the etiological factors for rotator cuff injury and impingement syndrome, high velocity traumas. Then micro traumas due to the overuse of in the sports person, athlete person, caused by the repetitive movements in the occupational hazard. So sometimes it's occupational in computer workers and heavy lifting workers. Weightlifting persons also sometimes in players also like tennis player, badminton player, baseball players or hockey player, you can see this type of injury. Sometimes it's because of ischemia also. Sometimes heterogenic causes also are there. So in working condition also so many persons are suffering from this type of injury due to the overuse injury and because of some of the faulty ergonomical positions. It's a very common injury in all the persons. What is the pathophysiology behind this injury? The extension hypothesis: repeated impingement of rotator cuff tendon against different structure of the glenohumeral joint, like the subacromial bursa, subacromial connection is there. So many things are there. So mainly the 3 type of intermittent and impingement syndromes are there: antero-superior, postero-superior, and antero-internal intermittent are there. So what is the antero-superior intermittent? What happens in this? Impingement just beneath the coracoacromial arch. Remember this thing. Here the impingement just beneath the coracoacromial arch. You know the coracoacromial arch is a very important supporting structure of the shoulder joint. So here the impingement just beneath the coracoacromial arch. Supraspinal tendon just going beneath the coracoacromial arch. So insertion of the greater tuberosity and the bicyclic groove must pass beneath the arch with forward flexion of the shoulder, especially if internally rotated, causing an impingement. Whenever the person will do interrotation of the shoulder, definitely impingement is there. So many reasons are sometimes due to the collection of some fluids, sometimes due to the overuse of some structure, sometimes because of the stress also, sometimes because of shearing force also. So many causes are there. So it's the one type of impingement. Then another type is the just here on the basis of the shape of the coracoacromial arch also. Sometimes like Benigni et al. In 2018 discovered this coracoacromial arch three shapes only, flat, curved, and hooked, and he just describe the injury on the basis of the shape of the acromion. 3% in the flat type, 24% in curved type, and 73% in hook type acromion cases. So it is also one of the classification on the basis of the structure of the acromion. And second one is the posterior superior impingement syndrome. Here the impingement between the articular side of the supraspinatus tendon and the posterior superior edge of the glenoid cavity. Remember, here there is no impingement just behind the coracoacromial arch. Here the impingement is between the articular side of the supraspinatus tendon and posterior superior edge of the glenoid cavity. So here the impingement just because of the glenoid cavity, posterior superior edge, not because of the coracoacromial arch. Then third one is the enterointernal impingement syndrome. So discovered better by the Gerber in 1985, impingement of the cuff in the coracohumeral interval, where the impingement is there in the coracohumeral interval. There is no impingement because of the glenoid cavity and coracoacromial arch. Here the impingement is because of the coracohumeral interval. So these are the three most common type of impingement syndrome for the shoulder joint. Then niche classification is also there according to subacromial impingement. So stage first, what happen here? Edema, hemorrhage, and reversible swelling. So here reversible changes are there. There is no irreversible changes here in stage first. So easily treatable by some of the drugs or some of the exercise. Then stage two, fibrosis already occur here. Then tendinosis, permanent scarring is already there. So surgery is required here generally in stage two. So we cannot manage easily by conservative treatment and physiotherapy treatment. So here, because of the fibrosis and scarring formation, some surgery is required here. Then stage three, most common condition in the age of the more than 40 years. Small rotator cuff tear is also there. Then subacromial decompression with debridement is generally required by the surgery here. Then stage four, severe condition, mostly in the people of more than age of the 40 years. Large rotator cuff injury is there. Definitely there is the repair by the surgeon. Orthoscopy repair is required here in stage four. Then just see the disease progression curve in the all the type of shoulder injuries and rotator cuff injury. First one, the always in all the condition initially the hemorrhage and edema is only there. Then after some time it will develop bursitis, tendonitis, impingement, and calcification. After that partial tear, then it will convert into full tear.